Alright, so this deck right here tries to use this Earthbound Immortal Fish one, not even going to try to pronounce his name, and put him in defense position and kind of stall out your opponent while using its effect to inflict 1200 points of damage to your opponent every turn. And since if it's in defense position, you skip your opponent's battle phase, and you have magical mid-breaker field out, your opponent never gets a main phase 2. So they can't target any of your monsters for effects. And the rest of the deck is just link monsters in order to search out this card with Summon Sorceress or to special summon it with Skull Dread. Okay, so final thoughts for this deck. I should probably mention this. The way I got the idea from this deck was I was in my Discord and this other guy was talking about this unbeatable deck his friend used to beat him. And he was talking about a monster who couldn't be targeted by anything, had all these support cards out, it skipped the battle phase, and he did half his defense, his damage every turn. And I was like, that doesn't exist. There's nothing like it. So I asked him for more information on it, and it sounded like a neat idea. So I decided to try to build my own version of it. One that's probably a lot better than the one his friend used, because it sounded like they were using some cheap methods. Whatever. So the way I tried to do it was with Midfield Breaker or Mound of the Bound Creator. They both kind of work to an extent. I think Mid Breaker is better because it also protects your Link monsters. As long as this card's out and this card is in defense position, your opponent can't target your monsters for effects. They can still, however, target this card with effects, no problem. And that's why I was running like the Solemn Brigade, just to basically stop that. And that only like saved me for one of my winning duels, I think. Which was still nice. It did allow me to win that duel, I think. I also ran Malefic Stardust Dragon in here to protect the field spell card. And if Magical Mild Breaker was out, then he would have some protection as well. Although he doesn't get any protection under Mound because he's only level 8. You need to be level 10 or higher for that kind of protection. And so the way I thought to play this card was to special summon him with Summon Sorceress and then bring it out from the graveyard. So like my very first thing with this was I'm going to use Instant Fusion to bring out a fish monster and then use that with Summon Sorceress to bring it out from the deck. And then I'll use those two for some kind of Link monster, and then I'll bring them out with like Back to the Front or Revival of the Immortals in defense position, and then my play would be set up. And then I found out later on it was quicker to just run World Legacy Succession. It's Succession. Much better. Basically does the same thing, except I can also choose if they want to be in attack or defense mode. And since this deck is so Link summon heavy, it's almost always live. I was running Terminal World in one of the earlier versions of this deck before I found out I can skip the main phase 2 anyway if they can't enter their battle phase. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be that way or not. But whatever, that's how it turned out to be. It was great. Unintentional synergies with this Mid-Breaker card was with Set Rotation. I'm only running Set Rotation just like a guarantee I have a field spell card out, because I really needed one out. And I gave this card to my opponent once, and you can't activate other field spell cards while this card's out, which was great. Because also with Set Rotation, you can't activate a field spell until you flip your field spell face up. And this card's effect is while it's face up, you can't activate or set more field spell cards. You can't get rid of it. So if you're playing a deck that revolves around your field spell card, like the person I gave it to, who was playing like a Golden Castle deck, completely like shuts them down. They can't get rid of it unless they literally destroy it themselves, which they did. Which I thought was hilarious. I thought Set Rotation would just give me 2 field spell cards out, increase the chances of this card staying on the field. It was great. Too bad it's limited. I can see why it's limited. It's a great card. And since Terraforming was at 2, I just needed more search, and it worked out perfectly fine. Dimension Guardian, I thought would see a lot more play. Like, I was playing more than one copy. I edited the deck down a little bit after I was done playtesting. The thing is, I can't actually target the Earthbound Immortal if Mid-Breaker or Mound is out. And I can't bring him out unless these 2 cards are out. The only way I can actually target him for Dimension Guardian is if he's in attack position and I enter main phase 2 and my only field spell card is Magical Mid-Breaker, and I enter main phase 2 myself. Then I can target him with Dimension Guardian. The reason I was running this card in the first place was because I can use this in place of a field spell card. because it should prevent him from destroying himself with his own effect. Never really did that. I think I used it once to protect a Link monster who didn't need protection at all. It was kind of dead, but I did have it in my deck, so I kind of have it here. If for some ungodly reason you want to run this deck, just remove this card and add like something better. And as for like the Link engine I used like the 2, 3, is it 3? No, I just used the Brilliant Fusion engine with Predaplants basically. And Hornet drones. That's really all it took. And because of that, and the fact I was running 3 copies of Instant Fusion to have a Black Shark special summon for a Summon Sorceress, which is a really not the smartest play in the world, I was able to do it a couple times. Instant Fusion is also just really good outside of that, because you can bring out Thousand-Eyes Strix or Sea Monster Theseus. And since I'm running Stardust Dragons for the Malefic Stardust, I actually went into it once with a Synchro Summon, which surprised me. He's definitely not in there for that. He's in here for Needle Fiber plays. And I drew into my Garnet a lot. That was annoying. But since I'm running a whole bunch of other Link engines, it seemed to work out. I was able to go into a lot of Link plays every game. And I didn't really include the ones I won, where Earthbound Immortal card wasn't involved in some way, because this isn't a Link spam deck. The Link spam is in here specifically to bring this card out. And it does a good job at that. Like specifically Summon Sorceress in particular, and Skulldread. Also, later on in deck testing, Luster Soldier, the Chaos Warrior, so good in this deck. It was like, it's basically 3 generic materials, and as long as one of them is level 7 or higher, it becomes indestructible. So it can't be destroyed by card effects or battle. Actually, I think it also cannot be destroyed by opponent's card effects. No, it can be destroyed by battle. It can't be targeted, right? Yeah. Can't be targeted and can't be destroyed by card effects, which is great. Really good. And he also has 3 good effects if he destroys stuff by battle. And the great thing about this was in my little Summon Sorceress combo where I was bringing out the Earthbound Immortal, I had a level 7 monster, level 7 or higher monster on the field that I wanted to get rid of. And this card basically solved that problem. I get out a Great Link monster, get to activate its untargetable, undestructible effect, and then I can bring this card out later with my World Legacy or Monster Reborn. All of these super consistent plays. And this card was amazing. And I think that's it. Overall thoughts on how this deck works. It's a gimmick deck, so it's obviously not very good. I still tried to make it as consistent as possible, and I think this version is probably as consistent as possible as you can make it.